Over the past 10 to 15 years in the United States and Canada, we've seen an increase in the amount of problems with brake lines corroding. This is due in large part to the type of salt being used on the roads. While these salts are better at melting snow and ice, they also have an adverse effect on our brake lines that can cause them to rot out and fail more quickly. My name's Todd, I'm with The Stop Shop. We're a manufacturer of many types of automotive products, one of which is the materials that you would need to replace a brake line in the event that you have a hole or a failure. It seems relatively straightforward that you would go online and buy some tubing and fittings and get it done, but it can be more complex than that. So we're going to quickly go through the 4 things that you will need to know before you can replace a brake line on your vehicle. First off, let's say that this is the tube that you've just taken off and you want to get it replaced. Number 1 thing that you need to know is the diameter of the tubing on the brake line that you need to replace, so you know what size coil to order. So in this case, I'd take a set of dial calipers, measure the outside of the tube. In this case, it's 0.187 or 3/16 of an inch outer diameter. Nearly every brake line you're going to find here in the United States to replace is going to be either 3/16 or 1/4 inch outer diameter, with just a few exceptions. Next up, you're going to have to choose the type of material that you want to use. So you know right now that you want a coil of 3/16 tubing to replace that line, but you'll find once you get online that there are several types of materials that you can use to replace that. There's zinc-plated steel, stainless steel, and cupro-nickel or copper-nickel tubing. We'll go through those 3 real quickly. Zinc-plated tubing will get the job done. If price is the most important thing to you, this may be the way to go, but it can be somewhat difficult to work with, and the corrosion properties aren't great. So you might find that it's rusting out again sometime down the road. It's not our favorite option, but again, if price is the most important thing to you, that may be the way to go. Next up, we have stainless steel. Stainless steel will never rust. It looks very nice. It unfortunately, though, is hard to work with. So it can be difficult to bend. You'll need a good tube bender. And even more than that, it's hard to flare. So we often say that if your flaring tool costs less than $100, it's not likely to be able to flare stainless steel tubing very well. Finally, we have copper-nickel tubing. This also will never rust. It's a nice tubing, and it has one major advantage over the others. It bends and flares extremely easily. If you have a brake line that needs bent, by hand, you can put sharp bends in copper-nickel tubing, while again, not having it ever rust out. So those are the 3 types of tubing to choose from. So now we know, in our case here, we're going to use copper-nickel tubing to replace this line. We know that the outer diameter is 3/16, so we need a coil of 3/16 outer diameter copper-nickel tubing. The next thing we need to know is the type of flare that's on the brake line. There's no good way to know what type of flare is on your vehicle other than taking the line off and having a look. The 2 types of flares, which you'll see on your screen right now, are an inverted double flare or a bubble flare, B-U-B-B-L-E. So you have a bubble flare, which is also known as a DIN or ISO flare. So you have to choose between those 2. Actually, you don't choose. You have to go with what was on the vehicle from the factory so that when you make that inform, it'll match up with the seat down whatever you're screwing it into. So there's inverted flare and a bubble flare. Again, look at the screen, look at your brake line, and you'll be able to tell which one you need to work with. So now we've covered 3 things we need to know. The outer diameter of the tube, the type of material we want to use, the type of flare that we have, bubble flare or inverted double flare, and finally we just need to know the size of the fittings. Fittings do have to match up with the type of flare, so there's one type of fitting that will go with an inverted flare, another type of fitting that will go with a bubble flare. So in this case, we're using an inverted double flare. We have a tube nut that is 0.375, so 3/8, and it has a thread pitch from a thread gauge that we used earlier of 24. So when it comes to tube nuts, there are all different size tube nuts, for instance, that'll fit on a 3/16 tube. We get calls from people all the time that say, I just need some 3/16 fittings. Well, 3/16 again is the size of the tube. We need to know the size of the fitting so on the outside of the threads, the type of flare it's butting up against, in this case inverted flare, and the thread pitch. So you'd use a thread pitch to check the size of that, the thread pitch of that fitting. So, one last recap. The 4 things you need to know: the outer diameter of the tube that you're replacing, the type of material you're going to use, zinc-plated steel, stainless steel, or copper nickel, the type of flare, inverted flare or bubble flare, and finally the size of the fitting to go with that type of flare, in this case a 3/8 24. If you have any questions, you can reach us any day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time at 614-557-3442, or head over to thestopshop.com and check out our other technical videos and see the kits and products that we have available. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.